according to this pattern, we make the strip sets first. Makes sense, so that you have them ready to go. Now, you have to have them flat and straight, not all wampus and crazy. So, this is a trick I learned from Jordan Fabrics. You take one of these big long yardsticks, and you make sure that your strip is right alongside it. Just kind of jiggle it into position, like so. I already did this purple one. I'm not touching it and leaving it alone, so that looks pretty good. And then in order to keep it that way, I use a little bit of Best Press. And first of all, a dry iron. And I don't move it and I don't wiggle it, I just go just like so. Down like that. Looks pretty good. And then give it a shot of steam. And then don't touch it. Let it just be. Shift this just a bit. Hope you guys can still see this. I checked my lineup and hopefully it works. Okay, so I have the blue one. Same thing, just sort of lay it. Don't stretch it or pull on it, just do it a little smooth. Like so. When I sew them together, just so it doesn't move around too much, I will pin at each end and probably just a couple in the middle, just to make sure they feed through straight. And I have to make 3 of these up, like I showed you in the last video, 3 sets of purple, green, blue. And then, when that is done, then we cut them this way. That'll be the next part of the video. Scoot that big thing out of the way because I don't want Best Press all over it. And actually I have to wipe Best Press off my table now because I got it a little bit on there. It happens. Okay, back to no steam. Fortunately, batik fabric is nice and dense and it doesn't get too wiggly and wonkly, but still. A little bit of Best Press and an iron is your friend. I'm ready to get sewing on the strips now. I've got my 1/4" foot on. There's a little flange right here. That's a brand new size 70 Microtex sharp needle in there. I always use one of these leaders just to make sure that your thread's going smoothly. It also saves on thread, which is expensive. This is 5 layers of painter's tape stacked on top of each other to give me a ledge to keep me straight. And I'm sewing with a dark gray Aurifil 50 weight thread. I have put my width over on 4 because my default is 3.5 and it makes not a good enough 1/4" stitch. 4 is a scant 1/4", which is what I go with. And my stitch length is 1.8. The default on this machine is 2.2, which is normally fine, but because I'm going to have to cut these strips across the other way, I put it at 1.8 to make it smaller because I do not want them falling apart, the seams falling apart as I cut across them. So now we carry on sewing. I've got 3 strip sets made. This one is completely pressed. As I sew the seams, when I'm done, I finger press them down. That helps keep them flat. This one, I've just taken a dry iron and made sure the seams are as flat as possible. This one I haven't done yet, but they're pretty straight. It does help. Sometimes I impress even myself. So once I have them flattened down, like this, I'll let it sit there. I flip it over and go from the top. Make sure it's all straight. I'll line it up with my straight edge just in case. And then I'll do steam from the top and then let it sit and dry, and then after that I will be cutting them up. I have to cut these now, and I have to make them 2.5 inches wide. Now I do have this top lined up on one of my lines across the board, but I'm not going to rely on that to keep it straight. I'm also going to line up the seams on the lines on my ruler. Now, this is kind of a raggedy end, so first of all, the thing I'm going to do, actually, I think I'll use my skinny ruler for that, just to make sure it's not hanging over, and I'm just going to take a little bit off the end here. And a line goes on that seam, goes on that seam, and it's even on the top, and it's even on the bottom. I have a brand new blade. There. Okay, let me just make sure it's tight because it kind of wiggled on me there. Okay, so back to the other ruler. This is not a long space, so I can use this one. My 2.5 line goes on the end, and this 2.5 line lines up totally with the edge of the fabric there. And this line here, doesn't matter what line it is, as long as it's straight line, lines up on the bottom of there. Whoops, and I went and moved it. And that straight line lines up on the top there. So we're nice and straight and square. And then, hand right over top, cut. I need 40 of these for the pattern. So I'm going to keep cutting, and that'll be that. There we go. That is 40 little strip units, plus one extra just in case, and the leftover of the strip, which I can use if I need to. Now on to the next bit.